Hey there. Welcome to the Pine Island Experience podcast. I'm Joanna Anderson with my husband, Trygve. Each of our episodes will be conversations with fellow Pine Islanders.
The goal of our podcast is to share with you our experiences, what we have found to be fun, and what makes the Pine Island Experience so unique.
Chuck mentioned that we're going to focus on the fish, like specifically, instead of just the rods and reels. We're going to focus hard on the snook and the redfish and where to find them and how they live and, what to look for them, when to look for them, what to present to them. So we've sort of narrowed down the focus to look specifically at each fish.
That was Dan Carns sharing just one of the exciting changes coming to the 5th annual PICC Free Fishing Seminar Series. Captain Chuck Downs is back, and this year he's teamed up with Dan to bring a fresh, more focused approach to fishing education. The seminars are now held Saturday mornings from 9 to noon in the brand new Tiki Hut at the Eagle's Nest restaurant. It's free, it's hands-on, and all you need to do is bring a chair. And now, here are Captain Chuck Downs and Dan Carns. We're here with Captain Chuck Downs from the PICC, from Pine Island Community Church. You came last year at this time to advertise your fishing seminar. It was a great success. Thank you for coming back this year.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So today we want to talk about, I know you told me there's a lot of exciting new things this year, have some new ideas. So we're going to talk about that today. But can you first tell us what happened last year? I can still see the rods going around the room.
We made a great effort to present many different angles to the fishing. So it's just not my way of fishing. 5 or 6 people present their way. And the idea to get everybody to touch and feel things. It's going to be a little different this year because we're outside and it's a lot bigger. So we've already planned kits that we will take to tables so that people can point out a lure and see what they really want.
Great idea, because I noticed some people wouldn't let go of the rod they were holding at the time to get it around the room. They enjoyed them so much. And what are some of the memorable moments from last year?
One of my favorite moments was when we were doing knot tying, and one of the ladies had worked so hard at trying to get this unit knot, and she couldn't do it. And we went on with our speakers, and all of a sudden she yells out, I got it. So everybody started clapping and cheering for her.
Aww.
So it was just a really special moment.
That's lovely. And then anything else from the past seminars? I know you've been doing it since what you said, 2019, I think you said.
It's just that we're local and the people really enjoy that. A lot of the big seminars, they bring people in from all over. And it's not local. They're not the people that fish Pine Island Sound, Matlacha Pass, and near shore. So that's special.
Can you tell us about any feedback you got from some of the attendees?
I would say very close to 100% that we do get feedback. People write me, text me, email me. We get a lot of feedback from Jen and Jim at Pine Island Bait and Tackle. People come in there all the time. He advertises, and when new people come, he said, this is a great place to go learn.
All right, so we're 2025 now. Tell us about the seminars and what changes you have in store for people.
Well, the biggest change came about by Jim Ross, who really helps me put these programs together. And he said, rather than just talk about rods and reels and lures and things like that, let's make it practical. Let's make it to our 3 main targeted fish, redfish, snook, and trout, and how we use different kind of rods and reels and lures for those different ones, where we go to fish, how we fish. So that made it really meaningful. And then we started just getting to group with our smaller group, which is Fish Talks. We hold once a month, and anybody is welcome to that. And it's really nice because we don't have an agenda. It's just people talking and sharing ideas, where they fish that week, what kind of lures, how they fish, how did the weather affect it. So it's really nice. So that kind of core group pulled this whole thing together. And then we decided we were going to move it from the church because we were at about capacity last year. And we had 128 registered. We had between 75 and 85 attend each session. So we wanted more room. And Tammy and Yvonne, they offered the Eagle's Nest Tiki Hut, perfect setting for a fishing seminar. So we're going to be there and lots of space. We've also added some new speakers. Dan Carns is going to be a lot more involved. We got Ed Clark. He's a kayak fisherman, but he's tournament fished. We got same crew from last year. And we're also, Lisa Fitzgerald's going to try and make it this year. And then on request, we have a ladies seminar. And when Dan talks, I'll let him talk about that.
Okay. So how many seminars will actually be held this year?
5. 4 regular and then 1 lady in March.
But what days are the seminars going to be held on?
It'll start February 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, and then March 7th, I believe, is the following Saturday for the ladies' seminar.
It's all on Saturdays then?
All on Saturdays. That's another big change that we made from the evenings to the day time, figuring more people. I did years ago a seminar at the old fish house, which is now, I think it's called Island Seafood now or something. And we had about 100 people show up. And that was unregistered, unannounced, really. So we're looking forward to.
Is this the first time you've had it in the morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Except that one seminar.
Okay.
At the Eagle's Nest, inside or outside?
It's outside at the Tiki Hut.
So that's just on Stringfield and Bokeelia. What time do they start on the Saturday mornings?
We're going to start at 9 a.m. and they'll go to 12. And that'll be giving us enough time to take breaks, show some of the tackle and things that we have. And one of the big things last year, whenever we took a small break, people wanted to talk to the presenters. So we were confined last year, and now we've opened that up to more time to do that.
Is there anything the attendees need to bring?
A chair, because we're just not sure how many chairs we're going to have. Other than that, we're lucky that they will open the restaurant at 11. They might open it a little early if anybody wants to purchase drink or a food.
And what's the cost to attend?
All you got to do is bring your chair. That's all it takes. We will also have handouts for a lot of the presenters, a lot of the topics we talk about. Like one handout that we have is everybody's favorite rod and reel it presents. So people don't have to memorize who they did, what they liked. They can just read.
Accept donations, I assume?
We appreciate donations. All the donations for the 4 main seminars will go towards PICC, Food Pantry, and the Hug Program, which feeds island people. The last seminar will go to Debbie Hansen's organization, which is the Freedom Water Foundation, and they service women in need and children who are special.
Do people need to register, and then how do they register?
It's appreciated. They can either call me or text. It's on all the flyers. Kevin Russell will do a poster. It'll be out there. We got a lot of response last year from this podcast, and the calls have already started coming in. So we appreciate it because then we know what to prep for. We also, with being at the Eagle's Nest, if we give them a heads up, they will know what to prepare for also.
And just to be safe, maybe just the phone number?
My phone number, 609-412-7328. And please either call, leave a message, or text.
Dan Carns, thank you for joining us today. I know you were at the last seminar, but welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We usually start with a new person. We heard from Chuck before a year ago, but we start about wanting to know where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? what have you done leading up to how did you get into this?
Okay. I'm a Southern boy, raised in Georgia, moved to Alabama, took up fishing at 2, moved to New England, took up saltwater fishing, became a guide there in my teens, moved to Vermont, took up freshwater fishing. My wife does not like snow, finally said, let's go to Florida. So we moved to Florida. I took up fishing here, of course, just like everyone else does. And I am a guide for Gulf Coast Kayak in Matlacha.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now a pro staff team member for a kayak company in Sarasota, Van Hunks. I write for Coastal Angler magazine. And now that I've said all that out loud, it's no wonder my wife wants to know where I am or where my head is. Because I write about fishing, I go fishing, I think about fishing, I prep to go fishing. And then I got asked to present at the last year's seminar as a kayak guide. And it was a great success. I had a great time. And after that, Chuck invited me to the Fish Talk series group. And it's a bunch of friends who get together once a month at the Pine Island Community Church. And we just sit around and talk about fishing. We did that for about 5 months straight. That's all we did was talk about fishing. That's right up my alley. So, and now that we're moving towards the seminar series, we've been planning for the seminar for quite a while. And most of our discussions are about planning about that. But we talk a little bit about fishing. That's kind of where I am.
I looked at we were looking at what's included, and I see you're heavy in session 1 and session 3.
I am. I'm not quite sure how I volunteered for all that work.
Redfish and snook in session 1, I believe.
Yep, we're going to talk. Chuck mentioned that we're going to focus on the fish, like specifically, instead of just the rods and reels. We're going to focus hard on the snook and the redfish and where to find them and how they live and, what to look for them, when to look for them, what to present to them. So we've sort of narrowed down the focus to look specifically at each fish. And so I think snook and redfish are on my list.
You're talking about kayak fishing, I think, on the third one.
Yes, the third seminar, I forgot the date, 21st, I believe. Yes. There's a couple of things going on there. The Snook Cowboy is going to come and talk about tides. And then Ed Clark and I are going to specifically talk about kayak fishing. And so it's going to be dedicated to kayak fishing. And my half of it is going to be the kayaks and how to set them up and what they look like. We're going to have this great opportunity to have kayaks on site, outside, set up and ready to go. So people can wander around them and pick at the parts and move them around and sit in them. And then Ed's going to talk specifically about how to fish out of a kayak. So that's going to be fun, really fun.
That really sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yep.
How'd you get interested in kayak fishing compared to...
You won't believe this, but when I lived on Cape Cod, I lived on the coastal end of Cape Cod, very far out, as far as you can get. And it's deep ocean Atlantic water. And I owned a 12-foot Sears canoe, one of the ones with the foam and the ribs in the middle. It was a 12-footer, and I used to launch it into the Atlantic Ocean. And my friends thought I had lost my mind. Somebody loaned me a kayak, and I went 5 miles and disappeared off the horizon. They thought I was gone forever. And that just did it for me. Getting into a kayak and fishing for fish in big, deep ocean water. That's kind of how I got started. It's been fun ever since. And, the kayak fishing boats have changed a lot over the years. Now kayaks are dedicated specifically for fishing. And so it's been great.
Kind of helps on the water depth as well, right?
It does. When you have some real stability, because the early kayaks, you had to know how to self-right.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you spin your kayak over, everything falls out, including you. Nobody needs that. We want to be safe on the water, and the new kayaks are really stable. And as a matter of fact, I stand a third of the time in my kayak. I'm standing on the platform. So, yeah.
And you haven't fallen off yet?
I have fallen out of my kayak once in about 12 inches of water because I tripped over my anchor line getting out. That's it.
And then how'd you get involved with Coastal Angler?
I was at the launch one day down in Matlacha at our pretty little beach launch that got wiped out by Ian. And Nadine was dropping off some magazines to the store. And Brian mentioned that I was their guide. And she came up to me and she said, have you ever written anything? And I'm like, no, I don't write. And she's like, we'd like you to submit one article. Just write an article and pin it down to 500 words. Just tell us about a day of fishing or some experience. So I did that once, and it was 1,000 words. And then I had to take it and cut that in half. And it was a really good learning opportunity on how to pin down an article to really be concise and talk about, how to get that message across. I submitted one article, and she's like, "You're hired." They don't pay. It's free. You submit articles on your own time and own choice. You have a monthly deadline. And I've been doing it since 2012, which now tells me that I've been doing it for 13, 14 years now. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And I traveled across the country for about 5 years and wrote from where I was. So it became a traveling article, which is really neat.
Now, has writing become easier for you, would you say? Or it's still very hard?
No, a whole lot easier.
Oh, good.
It's easy to write for me now. And I'm actually considering expanding that a little bit. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Book, something, instruction, I don't know, something.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Eventually, I'm not going to be able to go kayak fishing. I'm going to need to do something with myself.
You never know.
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you discover Pine Island?
It's funny. My sister came down here on vacation around 2000 and stayed in Sanibel and got home and called me right away and said, "You must go to this place for vacation." So we booked a place, found it, went 1 year, went back twice the next year, went back 3 times the following year. Found Cape Coral was the most affordable place to buy a house. Bought a house, discovered Pine Island. Matlacha turns out to be an aquarium for fishing. The fishing here is really, really good. Pine Island Sound in general is probably the greatest fishery I've ever been in. And I go to the Keys and I go to Panama. I go up in the Panhandle and other places. Pine Island Sound really is the place.
And if it won't get you arrested, how did you meet Captain Chuck?
I had heard of Captain Chuck, and I used to read his articles because he used to write for Nautical Mile. And I recognized the name, and then I had heard a few people discuss his name. And so his name was familiar to me, but we had never talked. And then when I got asked to do the seminar last year, which was pretty successful, I think, I met Chuck, and it's been great since then.
And just briefly, without spoiling the seminar, differences with kayak fishing and your approach or techniques compared to, a smaller fishing craft?
Yeah, well, I've had both. I had a boat when I lived here previously. I've recently returned back to Cape Coral because I was on the road for a little while. And I had a boat then, and I also had kayaks at the same time. They both have their advantages. And, I can't get out to Redfish Pass in my kayak unless I'm really being extreme. I can't go 5 miles out into the Gulf without, really preparing for that. In a boat, you're allowed to move around all over the place. Like if the fishing's not great at one spot, you just hook up and go 5 miles to your next location. In a kayak, it forces you to pay attention to the very close environment that you're in and maybe move 1/10 of a mile to your next fishing hole, not a mile or two. And so there's a pretty big difference in how you approach fishing from a kayak and a boat.
Do you need more patience if you're kayaking, would you say? Or?
I would say it's a very patient game. It's quiet. It's the equivalent of, like, you've heard of slow cooking, cooking from scratch. I think kayak fishing is like slow fishing because it really forces you into a quieter, calmer mode. And you really need to pay a lot of attention to your environment and the things that are going around you immediately. Because you can read the water and see where the fish are. If you learn to read the water, you can find fish. You'll see the bait. You'll see stuff pushing it around. The birds will tell you where the fish are. So I think it's a little more intimate.
We just don't know if we missed anything that you wanted to cover, Dan, or that you can think of.
I don't think so. I think we're there, Chuck, don't you?
Okay.
That was great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure seeing you again, both of you.
Yes, thanks for having us as well.
We hope you enjoyed our Pine Island Experience podcast. If you have any ideas for us, people to interview, or any comments, please feel free to email them to us at pineislandexperience@gmail.com. That's pineislandexperience, all one word, @gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, and you may subscribe to this podcast using all the major catchers like Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again for listening, and remember, island life is a constant vacation. We'll see you on the next podcast.